I wonder about how you think about this. So you're in it, whether it's a board meeting or for most people, you're in your team leadership meeting. Like here's a team meeting and you have to make a decision about something. And just kind of you sort of like this example where somebody's silent, they don't say anything. We make the decision, they walk out of the room, they go to the water cooler and tell somebody in a different department, oh my gosh, my team just made this terrible decision, whatever, right? Like, because they were silent in the meeting. So they didn't get a chance to even say, I actually see a problem with this or at risk. So one of the things that we talk about is everybody's voice needs to be heard. And once a decision this team makes, you might not agree, but you have to commit to,
Right.
you have to say, I need to step off because I can't go there with you guys, or I disagree, but I commit. So I'm not going to go out of this room and tell everybody else in the institution that I don't agree with this decision, right? Like that's part of being a good team member, would you say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think that the important part is if that's really what happened, they were silent, but then they went out to the water cooler. We missed a step as a leader because we didn't ask, you've been kind of quiet. Tell me more. Tell me what you're thinking. So I will take that one step of calling somebody out. And you've got people, again, I got my personality profiles. So some people are more comfortable speaking up and some people aren't going to speak unless they're asked. So now I need to ask for a way for them to be able to feel comfortable saying, I don't agree. But then we've got to have a commitment as a leadership team or whatever to be able to say, okay, we're going to have to agree to disagree, but we're going to lock arms and agree that this is the decision that the consensus made and that we're not going to have a bunch of sour grapes going on. And I've got that with the team I'm working with right now. I've got a couple people who are just not happy and they are going to do everything in their power to undermine the leader.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? First step, let's have that conversation. Let's call them out. Second step is this the right place, the right role for you? If you're that passionate about this person, the way we're moving, the organization is not for you. What are the opportunities? Is this the right place for you? And it's not a threat. Sometimes people take that as a threat. Well, either, get in line and shut up or, toe the line or you're going to be out. No, I want to understand because maybe you're the one who's going to say something. People go, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. Talk about unintended consequences. We would have made that decision and that would have been a bad decision.
Right.
Or it was the right decision and I now see it. I don't like it, but I can get on board with because I trust you guys.
It seems to me when we have that posture of everybody's heard and with one person they've agreed, I agree to disagree and I am committed, but my voice is disagree. That feels cohesive to me. That feels right rather than let's have a big fight and then go out and talk to other people in the institution about what happened in this meeting.
And also one last piece on that.
Yeah, yeah.
What goes on in those kind of meetings stays in the meetings.
Yes.
There
Yeah.
is no leak. If
Right.
you, if I, if, and I have just that premise with teams I work with, teams I'm on, guys, if you have a challenge, you come to me and we'll talk. I'm happy to talk about it, even if it's something we've decided we need to revisit. But I want to make sure that there's no leak. Because if there's a leak that says we're not connected in some way, we have a problem, and we need to address that because otherwise, we might as well leave the door open and let anyone who wants to come in. And that doesn't lead to good leadership. Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither were the conflicts they have. And so the idea that I actually, it's now a few years old, but I had a team leader that wanted basically, he had an agenda and he wanted me to come implement his agenda. You need to tell these people what to do and how this is going to be. And I need somebody else to kind of back me up. And nope, sorry. And he went hard at convincing me that I needed to do that. And I said, we haven't even started the engagement, and I don't think this is going to work. I don't think I'm the right person for you. So that's probably, I know that's not the direct question, but the first thing I'll say is I also want to manage expectations. I'm fresh out of magic wands. I tell leaders that all the time. I am fresh out of magic wands. They're on back order. And so for now, We're going to have to figure out how do we move forward together, and how do we also set and manage expectations of what we're going to do in this first phase. A lot of times I'll tell people we're going to start a bit of a pilot, and we're going to try some things. And we're going to then figure out what works and what doesn't work, because everything that I'm going to bring doesn't necessarily work for what your experiences are, what your team is. So the first, for me, the most important part, I get a high performing team that's struggling or isn't, or has missed something. And I've got some ideas around, I'm going to jump off that question. If I didn't answer it well enough, come back in the chat. But the idea for me of premises of teams are that people need to be able to listen well and disagree well and understand well and hear each other well. Is in conflict, we're in defense mode. We're not trying to think clearly. Good Lord gave us two ears and one mouth, and we don't always use them in proportion. And a lot of times that's what you find. And I know some of those statements are kind of cliche, but this idea of high performing teams, we need to have a common purpose. We need to have clarity about what the goal is and what the objectives are and what's within our mission, what's out of mission, and what would be nice, but probably not going to be right now. And to have enough psychological safety to establish trust with the team, with each other, to be able to have each other's backs and know that we can have healthy conflict. We can engage in conversations in a way to be able to understand that more effectively. The whole notion of, I'll call it coach bias or leader bias, is something we just need to be mindful of. I can't dispel it. I can't walk in the door and not have my own experiences, my own biases. We talked about that at the beginning. But I have to be aware of that, because I may have somebody that triggers me. Well, I'm going to be horrible, as a leader, not just a coach, but I'm going to be terrible as a leader if I can't at least acknowledge what is to myself and go, okay, that person really is kind of getting the better of you. Like, what are you going to do with that? And you know what my word to myself is? Jesus. And
Mhm.
myself, like, Jesus, help me to see this person for who you see him to be. God, help me to, Satan, you have no authority over this. Get out of here. I'm yours, and I'm going to treat this person the way, if you were sitting here at the table with us, would want me to be treating them. And a lot of times it's not the magic bullet, but a lot of times it will help me, just to level set myself.
I think that was really good. Becca put the critical piece to me in someone truly being well while disagreeing, whether they're actually seen, heard, valued, and respected in their reasons for disagreeing, similar to what we were talking about earlier. Exactly. Like people have to know that they were heard. Like it can't be fake. Like we've already made the decision, but we're going to hear everybody. And then if you did, yeah, I
Yeah, you didn't
absolutely
get your
100%
way.
Becca.
Yeah, Becca, I agree with that too. The action you emphasized, actually seen, heard, and valued and respected. Like, I want to hear your opinion. I respect you and what you bring. And whether we agree to disagree or not, it's important that people feel like they're actually heard and not just paid lip service. It can't be just, because you're right. Because we have to be able to hold each other's tension, and we have to be okay with holding tension. And it's not always, is this fun? There's rarely have I met a leader that's like, oh boy, let's, you know, the only
Let's
people,
have healthy conflict.
the only leaders that I have worked with, and it's fascinating to think about this, are people in like fire service, law enforcement, because they're trained to run toward problems. But most of us as in leadership positions are, we just, our bodies want to run away from it.
Right.
And then we hold it, and then we stuff it, and then it festers, and then it turns into something we don't want it to.
once. Going once. Going twice. If I see you on mute. All right. All right. So in the last few minutes, the, one of the things at the Center for Transforming Engagement that we have found in our research for well-being, specifically, primarily for clergy, but it really does stream out to others, the three streams of resilience: people, practices, and purpose. And you just talk to it like, who are your people? Who are you going to call? Who will pick up the phone if you're in crisis at 2 a.m? So we talk about those things. Who are your people in different categories? What are the practices, whether it's a spiritual discipline or I need to drink one more glass of water a day, like for our own well-being, like understanding what those practices are. And then, of course, purpose. Like all of us were created to want to, we have this innate wanting to make the world a better place. And of course, recreate the world after whatever happened in Genesis 3. We could argue about whatever happened there, right? But and how it's affected us all. But so these are the streams of resilience that we talk about in our resilience circles, which Dennis and 10 of his pastors are starting tomorrow morning with us, an 8-month journey through resilience. And then in January, Dana, we are going to start. And for all of you on the screen, we would love for you to put this word out to anyone that you think would benefit. We're going to do a leaders circle, a 12-month cohort, 2 hours a month, that will cover things, knowing our stories. We're going to go through the science of belonging, the science of resilience, emotional intelligence for leaders, applying systems thinking to your leadership, navigating conflict and having hard discussions, role differentiation, so you don't get so enmeshed with your job that you don't know where your job ends and you begin and vice versa. So we're going to start that in January and we're so excited. Our provost, Dr. Derek McNeil, is going to be one of the instructors with me, and we have another young pastor that's going to co-facilitate with me. So you guys will be seeing, starting tomorrow, advertisements for those circles as well. Would love to have, if you know leaders. That one, resilience circles are for leaders, but for anyone. This one is specifically for if you lead. You lead a congregation, a nonprofit, or any other place. So we're excited for that. And I think, Sam put the link right in the chat if you're interested in reading about that. Dana, thank you so, so much for spending this time with us and for your wisdom and just who you are, bringing yourself to this conversation. I so, so appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's been delightful, and it's just so fun to see the center continue to grow and expand and think about all of what it's called to do. And we're in the social sciences, the helping professions, whether it is nonprofit, whether it is clergy, whether it is ministry, as a lay leader, as a full-time staff. The reality is we want to care for other people and lead them well, because that's part of our DNA. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, let me see what I can mess up today.
Right.
Is let me figure out, and we want people to get empowered through our opportunities that we have for people to feel even more empowered and encouraged to be able to move forward well. And so I love what you're doing, and I'm supporting and all in. So it was a delight and a pleasure, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you again, Dana. Now listen, for the rest of you, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to turn over to Steph for a moment here. Yeah.
Thank you all for being here today. In closing, we want to do a thing called a chatterfall. So what I need everyone on the screen to do is take 10 seconds to think about a word or a very short phrase that encapsulates how you are feeling in this moment, or maybe something that stuck with you, something that